got the stepping of this man, Luke Hart.
Bounce off from McNulty, and away he goes! Harry McNulty!
This Knight gets away, Knight up to the 22, he won't be caught!
We're live. Shemai, welcome back to another episode of This Is Sevens. I believe we are on episode 2 of season 3. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Been better. I know, I'm only joking. Big sleeper, and it was up till midnight last night when they had the Rugby Writers Players, the Guinness Rugby Writers Awards. Yes, mouthful. So it was at that till midnight, and then a nice early pod with the boys. So yeah, missing an hour or two of my sleep, but all good.
Happy days. I think not having any hair, I could get away with the sleep schedule you did, but as soon as your camera came on, you could see you'd missed a few hours there, Hazza.
Yeah, mine's not much better, mate. Look
yeah.
Thank you.
I reckon you went to bed earlier, Nighty, but you still got up 5 minutes before the podcast, I reckon.
Nah, I was 12:15. Don't know what I was doing. How was
we got the same sleep schedule?
I know. How was the Rugby Writers Award, Harry? Did you win it?
Yeah, really, really good. They, I believe it's been going for 36 years. They said last night, and it's quite a prestigious award that you don't really think about too much. But everything is done by all of the journalists that write about rugby, that are involved in having to make, critiques of the games and pass that information out into the modern day web and into the newspapers and all that. They've been doing it for 36 years, so it's quite nice to be able to be represented, I suppose, by those people who are judging on a weekly basis. So Zach Ward ended up winning the Men's Sevens Award. I was nominated alongside Terry Kennedy as well, and then Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe ended up winning the Women's, which was, it was really nice. They did it really well. It was in the Guinness Storehouse, and
nice.
It actually didn't. It only ran till about 9:30, but I got home at midnight. So, but it was done very well. They had awards across Team of the Year, Club of the Year, Players of the Year in all the different rugby formats, and then they had They have a Hall of Fame as well from the Writers Awards, and then they had a couple other awards which were just giving back to the community. People that were involved in the club space. And then afterwards, they opened up the Guinness Storehouse rooftop bar. I'm not sure if you lads have been to that before, but it's really beautiful bar. It's about 270 degrees of glass, and it's the tallest bar in Ireland as well. So you get a full view over the city, and we were able to go up there afterwards, which was beautiful. It's a great evening.
Unreal. I think. Sound like any of you who'd have won that, I think would have been thoroughly deserved. But I think Zach was definitely somebody who maybe doesn't quite get the same plaudits I found after how big a season he had last year, and even particularly at the Olympics, which I'm sure we'll get on to chat about. I thought he was outstanding there as well. Yeah,
he was fantastic. I knew he was going to win it before we even went. I was like, Zach's definitely winning this award. So had a hunch, but no, delighted for him, and it's nice to have new players winning it as well. So like the first 4 years it was Jordan Terry, sort of. I don't know if it went exactly that way, but they both won it twice, and then I got a chance to win it last year. So nice that Zach, a bit of the engine room getting recognised there, like the last 2 years.
Doing the dirty work, yeah.
So a really, really nice award, and the trophy is so beautiful. It's like bronze. It is so heavy. It's literally a couple kilos, but it's really well done and it's really cool.
Is it one you get to keep, or is it the same one that keeps going back every year?
No, you get to keep it. Your name is on it. That's the first thing Zach asked me when he got to the table. Do I get to keep this? Yes, you do, Zach. Yes, you do.
That's a nice trophy to win. Stick up in the house, that.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. So a good night all round.
Class. And Doc, how was your training session?
It was all good. First rainy training session. We're definitely getting into typhoon season now. I've also got horrendous blisters, which I was trying to work my way through. But first game back this weekend. Looking forward to getting the mic on, recording it again, and seeing how we go.
Class, love to hear it.
And what did you?
Typhoon.
Oh yeah, it's we've been going up and down from T1s to T8s.
Oh wow.
T10s is where it gets really serious, but T8s most people get the day off work, so they're often quite fun days and evenings when they get called. Today's just a T1 and it's just torrential rain, so it's not much fun for anyone.
Okay, interesting.
What did you get up to yesterday night?
Not a lot, mate. Filmed a bit of content, and then I came back to find Laszlo had eaten 3,000 plus calories of various snacks that I was planning on taking up to Scotland with me. Lads, he's relentless. Like in the house, he is.
How's he got into them? So is he individually taking the wrappers off, or?
He's climbed up onto the kitchen counter and he's pulled off a carrier bag full of like not chocolate bars, like flapjacks and Cliff bars and protein bars. And he's had a feast. He's had 4 500 calorie flapjacks. He had 4 Cliff bars and 1 grenade bar. And we came home to just wrappers scattered across the living room carpet. And he's just there. And he doesn't give it, no shits given, like not bothered.
Have you ever checked him for a zipper, Nighty? I think there's a human inside of him, and he's just like come out, ripped them all apart, eaten them, and then zipped himself back up and just sat there like nothing happened.
He's terrible, mate.
Is he not chowing down on some of the wrappers then?
Yeah, he's chewed through some of the wrappers. He's done that before. He's eaten a whole pack of little Kinder mini blocks that kids get. Those mini bars. Yeah, he's eaten 16 of them and most of the wrappers. So
wow.
Is he trying to knock himself off here? Like, is he
just? I don't know. We didn't.
He's had enough.
He still wanted dinner. That was the worrying thing. He still wanted dinner afterwards. I was like, pal, you've had like 3,200 calories.
Yeah, a little amuse-bouche before dinner.
So that was nice to return home to.
That's either going to come out the same way it went in, or it's going to just not come out at all.
I know. So that was stressful. So yeah, he got up for 2 shits in the night. No surprise there. Terrible tummy issues for the next 24 hours. So
Jesus, I did get some laugh of him chasing the grass yesterday. That was
that was fun.
The wind looked crazy, but the chasing
crazy wind,
of the grass was brilliant.
He's relentless. He loves chasing stuff and didn't have a ball or a stick, and it was so windy that I was just tossing clumps of grass in the air and they were getting blown 30 meters and off he went. So
savage.
He's so quick.
He's definitely he's definitely the fastest dog I think I've ever seen in my life. So if any listeners think they've got a fast dog, let's set a race up, and if you can beat Laszlo, you can have the podcast all to yourself.
Are we getting into the dog racing business? Is that what you're saying? Down to Happy Valley.
Come on, Luke.
I hear it's big
in
Ireland.
Anti-dog racing. We're anti-dog racing. Laszlo's a poor old lurcher. He doesn't want to go back
in
to that.
now. Once you think you're out, you come straight back in.
His ancestors used to do it, not anymore.
Hey, if he's gonna be chowing through all your food, he's got to put some money on the table. Surely, Nighty.
Yeah, he does owe me a fair whack. I got to go buy all some snacks from Scotland.
If he's that fast, we can't let the talent go to waste, Nighty. I'm sorry.
Exactly. He's a running gold mine.
This is true. Right, gents. I think before we dig into this year, let's have a little recap of last year. Men's series winners Argentina, first time in their history. Hazza Island finished runners-up. We also had the grand final thrown in last year where France defeated Argentina to win that in Madrid. We also had promotion and relegation where Kenya and Uruguay returned to the series, and unfortunately Samoa and Canada departed us. They've been relegated with USA and Spain winning core status. That was the men's. For the women's, the series winners were New Zealand, runner-up Australia. Grand final was won by Australia, who defeated France, and we had China promoted, defeating Belgium. We also had South Africa, who were relegated, and core status was retained by Spain, Japan, and Brazil. So that was the series. And then we had the Olympics, just a small amount of the Olympics, where France secured their first ever Olympic gold by defeating Fiji. in the final, and South Africa captured bronze by defeating Australia. And in the women's tournament, New Zealand successfully defended their title, winning gold with 19-12 victory over Canada. And the USA achieved their first ever Olympic rugby medal, taking bronze in a dramatic match against Australia. A lot to unpack there. We've sort of gone over the series already. I would like to touch on the Olympics before we move on. Such a prestigious and big event. We didn't really recap it. Hazza, you were there. What was it like? How did you find it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was one of the most fun tours that I've ever been on. Like, I just loved every minute. So we went to France about 10 days before we were meant to be in Paris. So obviously we were in Paris a couple of days before. So we were probably about 2 weeks in France before the games kicked off. We were in a place called Tours, on Tours, and that was just brilliant. It was the same location which the 15s men were based during the World Cup as well. So it's kind of a really beautiful small town which has found its way into sport tourism almost in a way. So they've got this brand new rugby facility, which I believe the IRFU had a hand in helping them build and giving some money towards that with the 15s World Cup. But then they've got 3 beautiful pitches, and so ourselves, Australia and Uruguay were there, and then the women's sevens came in after the USA women's sevens came in as well. So you had about 5 teams that all came through before going down to Paris. But like the whole time we were there, I just thought we had such a laugh. We're cycling around the town, we're playing games, we're just having the best time ever. And then when we were training, obviously switched on and getting really stuck in. So then when we went into Paris, we were probably in Paris for 3 or 4 days before the games, but it felt like almost an eternity. It felt like that was more than enough time being in the village. You had enough time that you could kind of go around and you could swap your pins like myself, and then you were just like, right, ready. We're so ready to go. And the setup of the village was not far from Stade de France. It was visual from our rooftop in the athlete village. So you're kind of just like looking at the stadium where you're going to play for the 3 days. You're kind of like, okay, let's go. And then the stadium itself was fantastic. The whole tournament was set up really, really well. And 70,000 people for each game across the men and the women's tournament. It was incredible. You know, we know ourselves how sevens during the year can be absolutely jammed, like in Hong Kong, in Dubai, but then some other tournaments, unfortunately, they just don't bring the same crowd, and that's just the way it goes. And it's just really nice feeling to be able to run out 70,000, and especially having your family in the crowd as well. Was amazing. And results aside, I just look back so fondly on that tournament. Had such a blast. Loved it. Thought it was amazing.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, it's important to get the balance, and I think we nailed the balance.
Oh, unreal, yeah. Purely from a spectator's point of view, I felt like this is obviously the 3rd Olympics that rugby's been involved, and I think this was definitely the best one by a considerable margin. Like Rio was pretty incredible, but was in not the biggest stadium in Brazil. You had the kind of the fairy tale story of who's going to win the first gold medal in rugby, create history. In the men, that was particularly incredible with Fiji, and the history of rugby in Fiji was kind of written in the stars that they would do that. Tokyo was obviously delayed, and then a bit flat was kind of the vibe I got from the players, because there was obviously loads of restrictions in the village. Families couldn't come to watch. Stadiums were completely empty, and just watching it just didn't look amazing. Watching this one on TV, the stadium being completely full for all of the men's, all of the women's days, I just thought was incredible for the sport, for the players, for the spectators. Obviously in the men's, you had that fairy tale of France going on to win it, beating Fiji in an incredible final where Fiji struggled for a lot of the year, but looked like they were then going to go 3 golds in a row. But incredible when all eyes from France were on the rugby, on the gold medal, probably a large degree to do with Anton Dupont being there. So incredible for them to win it and the celebrations after. And then the women's tournament just breaking all the records for attendance, for kind of the upsets that you saw as well, like seeing Canada get to the final probably wouldn't have been predicted by many people, but they were phenomenal throughout the whole tournament. Not quite there to take New Zealand down at the end, but again, we chatted last pod about some of the legends that are hanging up their boots for New Zealand women, and that was fantastic to see them finish their careers with a gold medal. But all in all, just watching it from the sidelines, I thought it was amazing. I think I said to quite a few people, I don't think it could have gone any better from looking at it as rugby sevens on the whole, as you're in front of probably the biggest audience, not just at the stadium, but tens of millions on TV because it happened before the Olympics. I just don't think it could have gone any better, or you couldn't have written it any better if you wanted it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it there, Lukey.
You did, mate. You did. And like you've spoken about already, there was, I wouldn't say big surprise in the women because Canada and USA have always been powerhouses in women's sevens, but they kind of dipped over recent years and they've had this resurgence. And you've got to say it was great to see them back dining at the top table. And unfortunate for Australia, they're obviously one of the favourites heading in. They didn't even claim a medal, but how good was it to see USA claiming bronze? Obviously, Ilona Maher's gone on to do incredible things. And Canada back getting silver medal. But you've got to say disappointment for Australia and probably disappointment for France women in that respect. Obviously, they were strong all year and they've missed out on the semi-finals and not getting a medal. But fairy tale for the men, Dupont effect. He's been incredible since he's come in, and yeah, he did Dupont things, and he's departed with a gold medal, and he's back in 15s, carving things up again. Hazza, from your perspective, you played in it. What was the atmosphere like? And obviously, Ireland finished 6th in the end. How do you reflect on Ireland's performances?
I as I said just earlier, I loved every minute of the tournament. Like I have not looked back with like a sour taste in my mouth at all, really, on the whole thing. Obviously, we finished 10th in Tokyo, didn't really play too well there, but still enjoyed that tournament. It's actually a shame now, Luke, that the way you just described everything, that Tokyo didn't have anyone in the stands, because looking back on it, that stadium was probably just as big as Stade de France.
Huge,
it was huge in Tokyo, and I really think from the 2019 World Cup and how well received it was just by the general public in Japan, how much rugby is being pushed in Japan, I really think that would have just been a brilliant tournament with a full stadium. I reckon it would have been full. So we would have had 2 Olympics back to back that would have been full and amazing and just would add to everything. But saying that, it couldn't have gone any better in terms of just an overall tournament. There's obviously a track that runs around the pitch in Stade, and that's always a bit of a worry because it does add that separation between the fans and the pitch, even though it's only, I don't know, what, 20 meters, 25 meters maybe. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge difference, and it can add a lot to or take away a lot from the atmosphere. But you would have had no idea there was a track around that stadium at all. It was amazing.
The one cool thing I thought that led to, though, do you know, they got you to come out of that tunnel and they had the graphic behind you and then they had the spider cam. I don't know if you've watched any of the games back, but from a spectator watching on TV, and they kind of like drew out as you guys ran out of the tunnel and revealed like the rest of the stadium, because there was such a long runway between leaving the stand onto the pitch. It just made it look so epic, pretty much for every game, but particularly when it came to the semis and the final, and the crowd was really ramping up and getting behind them. And I actually thought that was quite a cinematic shot, or it looked like someone had planned that anyway. I thought it was brilliant to watch.
No, I haven't quite seen that shot, but I definitely have to go back and have a look. It sounded great. And like when we ran out as well, it was a little bit different to usual with the 7s game or in the 15s game. Both teams run out together side by side and the crowd goes wild, all that kind of crack. But what they did was they staggered both teams. So one team ran out and then the other team had to wait, and then the other team ran out. And it just depended on which side of the pitch you were on. It wasn't like a home advantage or anything like that. So if you were on the far side of the pitch, you just went out first. But the way that it was like a big screen. You kind of run around it and then come through a set of doors. and they had like graphics all up behind you and all sorts, which was kind of cool. But yeah, when I ran out the first time, I just kept my head down. I made like a conscious decision not to look up straight away because I knew the track was there. So I wanted to really like get to the pitch before like I lifted up my head and kind of take it all in. I don't know why I came up with that idea. But I just thought it was great when I got out there because I'm just running down. I could like hear everything. I could get a sense, but I couldn't quite picture it. And then like you get to the grass and you're like, right, I'm here. And you look up and it was like, oh my God. It was like something maybe from the Gladiator movie that's just come out, it's just 3 big blocks of, couldn't even identify like people or anything. It's just like in my mind anyway, it's just a mush of color and sound, which was really cool.
I used to do that for quite a while, run with my eyes closed, at least for the first like 15, 20 minutes, just to be like, right, just really take this all in. And then I don't even remember in Vancouver one year, they had the massive fire shooters on the side of the tunnel or the pitch.
Yes.
And I had my eyes closed when that went off the first time. And I just remember being like, whoa, what's going on there? And since then now I just do it for the first literally like 3 steps, and then I've got to avoid getting. If I had hair, it would have been on fire. That's how close I was to it because I wasn't paying attention.
That Vancouver one's caught me off guard as well. Didn't realize it was going off. Well, I did, but I didn't realize how much it was going off. And I ran out. And usually when I run, I do like 3 jumps, and I'm running out and getting ready for this jump, and then this flame is just like that, and you can feel like a little bit of spitting coming off, like the fumes. And you're just like, am I going to be caught on fire here? You definitely get the flinch on TV. You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Which is good. But loved it. And the games as well, really hard fought games. Obviously, we managed to win against South Africa in a really hard fought game. Lost to New Zealand, last play of the game. Lost to Fiji by it was their closest ever win in their entirety of the Olympic Games. So they had beaten every single other team by more in every other game across Rio, Tokyo, and France. So almost had them there. And then we finished 6th, so we finished better than the last one. And I thought we fought so hard and played really well. And everyone I spoke to when I got home, they just said how proud they were to watch us play and represent Ireland on the biggest stage, and just had the best time ever.
How did you celebrate? Beers? Party?
1 million beers. So basically, at the Olympic Games, each nation, so Ireland, USA, France, whatever, they have what's called a team house, and it's up to them to decide what that looks like, what that entails inside. And like, I think the USA one is like $300 to enter, but like the public can go to these places, and they have different different buildings all around the city. So the USA one is like obviously at the highest echelon. All the other ones, I don't think you have to pay to go, but if you went to like the Team Mexico house, they had like different nights where there was like salsa dancing, and there was taco night and all that kind of stuff. So you get an immersion into different cultures. We went to the Team Ireland house, which ended up being an Irish bar in the middle of the city, right beside the Moulin Rouge.
Nice.
And
nice.
It was hilarious because it was literally a full-on Irish bar. And all these houses, they usually sell merchandise, and then they have like activations that are Irish and all that kind of stuff. It was basically just a pub for the whole 2.5 weeks that you were there. But when you walked in, it was split kind of into 2 rooms, and the bathroom was right in the middle on the left. So you had to walk past like the big bar. It's absolutely packed. It didn't matter which side you were coming from. But when you went to the bathroom, as soon as you got right into the middle, there's a small door right next to the toilet that was selling like t-shirts and hoodies and jumpers from Team Ireland. Like no stall, nothing like that. Just this little corner. So it just showed where Team Ireland put all of their efforts. But to be fair, after the tournament, like there was a America team, the USA team showed up, and I'm not sure if another team showed up. But like over the course of the Olympics, like teams were showing up to the Ireland House because they knew it was going to be good fun. They knew there was going to be a party. There was live music. It was going till all hours.
Sick.
Like really good fun. So we ended up going there for the night, which was super fun.
Love to hear it.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And then
I actually
you were
brought
collecting
some of the Kenyans. Sorry, I brought Andrew Amonde with me. So he was delighted to come down.
You were obviously collecting pins at the Olympics as well. There was quite a few different Olympians that went viral or had really high performing content. Yours was definitely around the pins. Did you manage to complete it? How many of you ended up in total?
Yeah. So no, I didn't get a chance to complete it. It's very difficult. Some nations, I don't know if they even had pins, or by the time you found them, they were gone. Ireland were very generous in the pin sharing. They gave each player, I'd say, anywhere from 50 to 80 pins. Probably it was just like it was just given like a bag of them. Where I was talking to some athletes and they were literally given like 5 from in different nations. Like, here's 5 pins. Like, go and enjoy it. What can you do with that, really? So there's a bit of hit or miss. I think I came home with like 80 pins, maybe 75 pins. I think there was one or two, like a couple repetitive, like in terms of the nations. Like, so it wasn't 80 nations. It was probably 70 nations though.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, really good. Like, I think it's just such a fantastic part of the Olympics. It doesn't take like a whole lot of time and energy to do it, but you know, I tried to put an emphasis on finding smaller nations, looking for lesser known, or what people would see as like weird is probably the wrong word, because like, what makes a country weird? Every country's weird, but like somewhere lesser known. So like, I ended up getting a Turkmenistan. My number one prize was North Korea. I didn't realize at the time, but I got Belize, and they only had one athlete competing at the games. But I didn't realize at the time when I was swapping. They were just in front of me in the food hall. I got Bahrain, so where I was born, managed to get a Bahrain pin, and then got like a couple of the small islands from the South Pacific, and it's just kind of, when you look back on it all, it's all a very cool little game almost, like, I guess you can call it. And it just kind of, it allows you to break down barriers and just chat to people when you're there and have some fun.
Yeah, that's so sick. And I guess kind of continue along that idea of content at the Olympics. There was obviously huge stories with the legends of New Zealand winning the gold. A load of them have retired. Amazing Canada, maybe not favoured, but getting back up to being one of the big hitters, like you mentioned, 90. But then obviously America winning that bronze, and kind of the lady of the Olympics who took all the headlines was Ilona. And just to see what she does anywhere on social media. But I feel like that Olympics, it just went to another level, another reach. Like, I was suddenly getting messages on This Is Sevens from like friends of friends who are now like, I've never watched the Sevens, but I love Ilona. I'm going to now watch all the Sevens whenever she's playing. And just the sheer amount of eyes from around the world, but obviously particularly in America. She was with so many of the big hitters who wanted to be around her, take a photo, be in a video, ask her to do something. It was just mad to see.
Incredible. Well, her numbers now are crazy. She transcends rugby. She is, I think she got voted as one of the most marketable athletes in the world, like in the world, which is
easily, yeah.
No men's rugby player was on that list. None.
Yeah. But I think
just shows like,
she's obviously been very active on TikTok. Was the big thing for her at the Tokyo Olympics. That was where she really started hitting off. And between kind of that Tokyo and this Olympic, she's gone to about, it was like 1.2 million or something on
she's on
TikTok.
4 million. On 4 million.
And literally within that 12 days of the Olympics, she went up to like 4.6 or something, which is crazy. And now she's on Dancing in the Stars in America, which is one of the biggest shows there by the sounds of it. She's doing all these different commercials, branding. I think she's not going to play sevens this season, is the chat I've been hearing. But definitely, she's
the Women's World Cup is in 2025, so she's putting effort towards that. I believe a lot of girls are, in fairness.
Yeah, which would be incredible again. Like anything she goes to now, she's going to bring millions and millions of eyes onto a sport, and it's not just big for women's rugby, just big for rugby on a whole. Like I think she's the most followed active rugby player in the world now, men or women, isn't she?
Yeah,
quite a considerable way. Yeah,
she
which
becomes,
is just phenomenal.
Yeah, she had that in the Olympics. She overtook Khaleesi, I think, and she's just upward trajectory.
Madness.
But yeah, it's just like it's literally the American dream, isn't it? Like, in terms of everything coming together. So you've got the big push in the women's sport. Now you've got someone who's big on social media. It's like, okay, right, we're getting somewhere. We're in the Olympics. Okay, adding a bit more, and then you add a medal on top of that, like a medal
that they won in the last play of the game, pretty much as well.
Yeah, I think that probably doubled the reach and following that she probably would have achieved if she didn't get a medal. Just because of that medal, which is totally deserved, an amazing feat. But I just think like it has that much of an impact, especially in the American market, that you're a medaled Olympian, that you're going all the way up to like that 4 million mark, which is huge and so amazing for the sport. And to be fair, like I would have seen Alona through the years on tour, like she was always doing the social media part. She was always the same as she is online, but she just realized like this is the stage in which I can make this all happen. This is the stage where social media is just I can make it take off. I can make this a business for myself in a way. I can make this a life, and I'm going to go and do it and manage to showcase as well, which we probably have had issues with, being able to do doing that side of your life and also doing really well on the pitch as well, which is always the biggest asking point, isn't it? It's like, oh, you're not in the game. You're not thinking. You're trying to go and do your silly little videos. You're trying to have fun all the time, like switch on about the game. Yeah, literally, right? So the fact that you can balance both is totally possible, and which is great. Yeah, I'm delighted for her, rugby in general, just everything that's come from it. Amazing.
Definitely. And we got a podcast for this, so go back and listen to that. Another plug. We spoke to her last season. Right then, lads, before we go on to look ahead to this season, any other closing thoughts on the Olympics? Hazza, you've got some interesting stats for us, haven't you?
Stats man over here. I'm actually not even sure where I picked this up or who told me this, but as far as I'm aware...
Someone told you in the Irish pub, did they, lad?
Literally, yeah. Did you know this? Come here, let me tell you something. So, as far as I'm aware, the rugby was the second most viewed sport overall. First was athletics, and then it was also the second most revenue generating sport, second to athletics as well. So it was the number one non-traditional Olympic sport, basically, in terms of viewing and revenue generation. And I was told last night when I was at that ball or the dinner that ticket sales alone brought in 40 million euros for the rugby. Yeah, because
that's crazy.
Each session was like a game, so there was 6 sessions per tournament. So there's 12 sessions per tournament. You had to buy a ticket, or across the men and women there was 12. You had to buy a ticket to each.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
And they weren't cheap from what I remember people saying who went to watch. Like were we looking around 100 quid for some of the tickets as well?
Oh yeah,
easily, and then it just only carried on going up after that. Then didn't it?
So it was like 40 million, they said, in revenue from ticket sales alone. Like
crazy,
mental.
Mad.
So it went really well. It's just a case now of carrying that momentum. 4 years is, it's quite a long time. It was only 3 years from the last Olympics, which people tend to forget, and why people are like, oh my God, this Olympics came around so quickly, because Tokyo was delayed a year. So carrying that on for 4 years and then bringing it into a market where rugby isn't as well received as it is in France, into LA. So Alona's obviously played a massive part in her successes with the USA. But there's a lot that needs to happen probably between now and then, just from a rugby landscape point of view in the States, to ensure that sevens will be as well received. Or maybe I'm just overthinking it, because it went so well in Paris that people are like, right, as soon as those tickets come out for the rugby, like, I'm going. That looks amazing. It's going to be super fun. And getting the stadium right as well.
Yeah, I put out about the night. You'll go through the dates in a minute, but obviously LA was one of the last ones to be announced. And I had quite a few messages from people who were saying they're not sure it's the right place for the grand final. But then when I chatted to them a little bit, they were also a little bit skeptical or a little bit worried about how just the Olympics as a whole will be received in LA, and just about how many people will be genuinely keen to go along and watch. Like, I think one amazing thing about France was that they're obviously very keen on just sport in general, and you'd have struggled to find an event at the Olympics that France didn't have a pretty competitive team and a great chance of winning a medal. Probably quite similar to when London hosted the Olympics in 2012. GB was mad into it, and I found that quite interesting, because in my head America does take the Olympics very seriously as well, but they were saying more the fact that it was in LA, they, for some reason, they can't see it being the uptake being as big. So I don't know if these people are just being skeptical or what, but yeah, I found that quite surprising.
I guess I would just say that LA's hosted the Olympics twice previous. Now,
Yeah.
the city's obviously changed a lot since those last two games, and the dynamic is going to be different. But it is a city that's kind of synonymous with the Olympics. So I think from a general point of view, I think there'll be a lot of very general Olympic supporters that will make their way because it's so iconic. It's just a case of, do those supporters spread through to the games that are not synonymous with the Olympics as much as something like the Olympics, or something like the athletics, excuse me. So that's where it'll be interesting. So does the rugby make that list in terms of what people want to go to? I think it's in LA Galaxy, which is quite far south, harder to get to as well. You got to go out of your way. So yeah, there's quite a few.
That's almost what I'm thinking myself. Is LA as an Olympics one? You're like, right, I need to start thinking about whether you would want to look at flights and genuinely fly over there to watch it. And probably out of the last couple of Olympics, as in terms of a destination, it would probably be the bottom. I would have much rather gone to Paris, Tokyo, and Rio than go to LA, I feel, just if you were to go and try and just watch general sports at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're using SoFi Stadium, which is like $1 billion stadium. I think the Coliseum might be getting a little bit of action as well, but it's just that it's a big city that's pretty sprawled out and not too much public transport. So, and it's got a lot of traffic anyway. So it's just a case of, are they trying to build ways to do it? Are they going to be closing down roads? Like Paris, actually, most of the people that live...
Just lost
I think
you
I'm
again.
disconnected. Oh, that good old Victorian era Wi-Fi, son. The lad stopped turning the wheel downstairs.
Out, then.
Neither do I. The lad stopped turning the wheel downstairs. They're on a break, on strike. All right, I'll just keep going anyway. I'll just say, yeah. So LA, it's a big city. It's pretty sprawled out. There's not that much public transport, so it's a case of like, what are they going to do to be able to counteract that and make sure that people can get, if I want to go watch say beach volleyball, that's probably going to be in Manhattan Beach. If I want to go from there up to like West Hollywood, if there's something up there, that's going to take me over an hour. If I want to go down to LA Galaxy, that's going to take me like an hour. If I want to go over to SoFi, 45 minutes, it's balancing that. But then It'd be interesting because I think the Americans love the Olympics so much. I don't think people in LA are going to leave. In Paris, anyone that had an apartment was like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
So the only people in Paris were people who were there viewing the Olympics. And it gave this kind of weird sense. It was like really empty, but really full.
Yeah.
But it was empty because there was no one in the apartment blocks that you were looking at. It was full because people were going to the game or going to the sport.
Yeah.
So there was this weird. I don't think LA is going to have that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the rugby's been held in Dignity Health Sports Park, 27,000 seaters, so it's a small capacity venue, but it is 14 miles south of downtown LA, which is a bit of a trek to get to. So, like you said, I think there'll be uptake for general Olympic sports because Americans love the Olympics, but it's just whether they can get the numbers into rugby after the success of Paris and with Ilona Maher being the personality she is. But Doc, you feel like World Rugby have dropped the ball a bit, haven't you, since the Olympics?
Yeah, like I think we've just chatted there for half an hour, whatever it was, about how amazing the Olympics was, how so many of the players on social media are like hitting viral videos for fun. Harry, your stats there about it being probably the best grossing non-traditional sport, the Olympics. And then kind of the same happened after Rio. You were a bit like, right, is this going to be the cannonball that's now going to send sevens into the kind of same realms of like your F1 or your golf or these other global sports that travel around the world, and just each time they just seem to get so much momentum, and it's as if they just go, right, we've done the Olympics, let's have 2 months off and then we'll just try and work out what we're doing a month before Dubai. And this has probably been the strangest one yet, where the number of tournaments has come down. They announced 5 and then they eventually announced the other 2, and then they've announced they're going to do a grand final, and it all just kind of seems a bit of a shambles after how successful the Olympics was. And again, they've gone back to some of the stadiums, what we touched on, where Dubai, Hong Kong guarantee an amazing tournament, amazing crowd, and then they decided to go back to some of the places where they probably struggled for a bit of the crowd to come into it. And yeah, I don't know. It's a real head scratcher. I put it up on the Instagram, and it's probably been the story that's had the most reactions and comments back ever. Literally had over 100 people reply and just be like, I have no idea what's going on at the moment. So yeah, real head scratcher, and why I feel World Rugby have dropped the ball going into this season.
So the events, the 7 events announced: Dubai kicking off the season, followed by Cape Town a week later. Then they have a bit of a break. They head to Perth in Australia, and then another bit of a break, Vancouver. And then a month later, they have Hong Kong and Singapore, which are back to back. And then they finish up with Los Angeles. So Singapore will be the final round of the 6-leg series. And then LA will form the grand final, where they'll have the relegation playoff once again. So yeah, it's 7 tournaments, 6 to make up the series, and then the grand final. Asa, what are your thoughts? Obviously, there's no European leg, which is quite disappointing. They play a significant part in rugby sevens. They make up a large contingent of the teams. Yeah, what were your thoughts on the 7 locations?
Yeah, I think I would have loved the European leg, just especially after France hosting such an amazing tournament. Like that's huge, and I don't even really mind where it would have been in Europe. I just think you're kind of missing a stronghold within the rugby world, which is a shame. London was obviously so good, but I guess it's just so hard to know behind the scenes, isn't it, really? Because I had been involved in talks with World Rugby in Hong Kong one year, where they were telling us when the whole format was changing, when it was going from the 16 teams to the 12, when they were reducing the amount of tournaments. And, firstly, they just came out saying that it costs the union that hosts the tournament so much money. They don't want to do it anymore and all this kind of stuff. And then you're just kind of like, something like a London, it seemed like it was doing so well. It would seem weird.
They wanted it apparently again, because London obviously used to be 70,000 people there for 3 days. problems with the crowd. They reduced it, so they're obviously not making as much money. And then very slowly they started allowing them a little bit more crowd. And I think the uptake and the reaction to the tournament was probably bigger than what London or the RFU thought. Because obviously it was one of the premier tournaments at one point, and then it just sounded like they didn't get a bid in time. Like with these things, they get decided like a year and a half, 2 years before, and they just didn't put a bid in time by the sounds of it. Which when I heard that, I was like, oh well, that's such a shame, because imagine there's an 8th tournament in one that has a proven track record of being extremely popular and profitable.
Oh, massive. I think as well, we were saying the crowds had an issue. Like what they should do, I think, in massive stadiums like that is take the Hong Kong model. So you can put in the lower levels where there's going to be less danger associated with people having drinks, put that all down there. But in the upper levels, just make it fit kids, family. No alcohol allowed in the stands. That's what they do in Hong Kong, and then you just reduce the safety element so much, and then as a family member, like with your kids and stuff, you've got a safe area to go with your kids to enjoy, really watch the rugby, and kind of fill out that section of the stand. And that obviously that someone got really hurt at that London, and that's why they pulled it down from the top stand. But it's like
I think they fell out of the stairs out the back though, so I was also like, oh, that sounds like it must need like a cage or something if there's that much of a space for someone to fall.
I thought they fell over from one stand down to the next.
I heard them falling from the second tier down into the first tier. But I don't think it was just that. I think there was issues with the problem with Twickenham is it's so poorly, the infrastructure around it is so poor. You've got to cart yourself through small little towns and villages, past houses, and people in the state they're in after Rugby Sevens events, well oiled. They were urinating in gardens. There was a bit of trouble. I know that the locals liked it. So I think it was a combination of factors. But I heard the story that a guy had fallen out of the second tier into the first tier. So I'm glad that's not true, because that would have been horrific.
I don't think so. I feel like they fell from because they have like the big winding stairs that come out the back in Twickenham. I don't know if you've ever seen them. And I thought he's leant over that and fallen down that is what I'd heard. But again, could be wrong.
Someone fell anyway.
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
Someone hurt themselves anyway.
Yeah. So anyway.
Sorry, go on. How's it going?
No, I was just saying. I would have preferred something European in there. It's just so hard to know, really. Like when an event gets named, how well received it's going to be. Obviously, LA was in March all the time. Not a great time of year. It's going to May. Does that make a big difference in terms of? The locals aren't going to really go somewhere where it's cold, because Californians don't like the cold. So like maybe when May is better, it's something that's going to be received higher. The MLR season is going to be on and have gone through a couple of weeks or 2 months by that stage. So maybe there's more rugby on the brain then. Grand final could be quite American-esque, in terms of bringing this whole idea. Like this is like the equivalent of the World Series. Like obviously it's called the World Series of Sevens, but in American sport, they have their own World Series, right? Is the grand final the American version rugby for that? So it's just really, really hard to know. And then with the Olympic side of things as well, I feel that the momentum has definitely like just dropped off, kind of lost from the Olympics. But now thinking about it more, it's just that we don't get to access anything that's Olympic. It's two different governing bodies, so I'm not sure what the relationship is there, and how do you carry on momentum when you can't access a lot of the content, or the players that you have access to all the time. You can't put up a try, like you literally can't take any of that footage. So it's kind of, you need to figure out a way to keep the momentum, but you have to take footage that wasn't at the Olympics, and there's this kind of balance, and I'm not sure anybody really knows how to do that at the moment.
Yeah, I think having a couple of months off straight after the Olympics with maybe just slightly limited content, but I think being able to announce early when tournaments are, it's like a good schedule. I think that would have just been a bare minimum. And then when maybe a month out from Dubai, that's where it can start ramping up, or in that break, go out to the teams, like find out the personal stories of some of the players who are going to be big names on the series. Like I understand what you mean, because the Olympics pretty much vetoes anything anybody wants to do. Like, I think there's even restrictions on supporters in the stands with how much you can film and show, and they can take stuff down even if you're just a fan showing something going on. But I still think there's definitely stuff World Rugby could do.
Yeah, I think you're right there on if they had the places locked down by the time the Olympics was over, like the amount of eyes that was on everybody's social channels, like everyone would have shared the location straight away, because when it comes out, everyone does, just naturally, right? So you would have just had way more eyes on everything. And then, someone in LA or someone in Dubai or someone in Perth would have gone, oh my God, all right, this is on. I'm going to be around then. And then when can I get tickets? Where can I get them? So at least it's on people's minds straight away. So totally understand that. Yeah.
Definitely. Doc, any other thoughts? Because you think there should be a South American leg as well, which we all probably think there should be. But where would you like to have seen some tournaments go to? Because if you look at that, Dubai, Cape Town, they're established names. They do really well. Perth is the one where you're unsure if they'll get the crowds. Vancouver, brilliant. We all love that. Hong Kong, iconic. Singapore is always a bit of a lull, but I think they pay so much money that World Rugby can't turn it down. And then LA is the other one that's a bit uncertain. So yeah, where would you like to see it gone, Luke?
So I feel how Argentina have played over the last couple of seasons, just they've got superstars throughout the team, and they seem extremely well loved in Argentina. They're always been invited to like the big football teams, and I've seen Marcus Mineta and a few of the lads have put up some of the scenes from the football games they've gone to watch, and it is just like Flair Central, flags, people going absolutely bonkers. And I think if you go there with an Argentinian team that is doing well on the series, and I've got no reason to believe they won't carry on doing well, I can't see it not being accepted and big crowds turning out for it. I just think it would be amazing. And I've chatted to a few of the Argentinian lads about it, and they think it would go down really well. Obviously a bit biased, though.
Yeah, sorry, just doing a little bit of research there. It's just like going through the social handles for the Argentinian guys as well, because it's one thing when it's like a team's doing really well, but in the grand scheme of things back home, like nobody really knows that's happening. But Moneta has 145,000 followers. Iskra has 145,000 followers. Gonzalez has 89,000 followers. Like, there's three players there that obviously have big names on the series, but that just showcases back home as well that they're really highly received and that they're known, and like that will bring a crowd that brings anticipation and like a lot of fun to these tournaments.
But
I think it's the right time.
They all follow one of those football teams, and they reshared the story. They got shared on. I think it might be River Plate that they all follow. And I've obviously heard of them, but I clicked on it, and that Instagram has got 6.5 million or something crazy. And there's obviously like tens of thousands of people at that game, but River Plate is showing the Argentinian Sevens team on the story. They're in the changing room swapping jerseys. Yep. So I'm like, they're clearly very well liked and accepted in there as well.
Yeah, I kind of have this idea as well. Not idea, but I guess like in terms of a sense of like talks with World Rugby and everything, it's like they say they're losing money in these tournaments. They need to try and, earn money. I'm like, if you're going to lose money, you might as well try and lose it somewhere that even the stadium's going to be full, right? Because as a product, when it's shown to a wider audience, someone's going to see it and just go, wow, that looks incredible. Yeah. And Nighty, when you mentioned Perth actually was completely full last year. So now you've got Dubai, Cape Town, Perth. The first three tournaments on the series are actually full.
Yeah, Vancouver will be as well.
And then Vancouver. So you've got 4 tournaments, and then Hong Kong. So you've got like 5 that are going to bring a really good crowd. So I know we have Singapore and LA, and we'll see what happens in LA in May. But like, you could bring it to in Argentina. Yes, you can't charge as much money, obviously, because their economy isn't as strong and all those types of different things. But you are going to have a full house. And just from that alone, I think, adds so much more value to the entire product, and it will start to generate revenue. I also think something like a Fiji as well, I'd love to have a tournament there. Again, probably can't charge as much, but as soon as that gate opens at 9 a.m. for the first game, it's going to be full. They'll watch any team, they'll watch any game, and they'll support each and every one of those games as well. So you're going to have an incredible atmosphere. I think that's what Sevens needs. I think it needs to start reaching newer audiences by going to them in a way, right? They've tried with different places. Some of them haven't worked, but there's others that can work. It's just a case of making it happen. It's hard. It's a business. I get it. But if you're going to lose money, lose it somewhere where it's going to be busy, in my opinion.
Yeah. We could speak for hours about this, I think, in terms of how many tournaments, where they are, where we'd like to see them. But ultimately they've gone with the 7. I think it's more of a marketing, rugby 7 tournaments across the world. It kind of rings off the tongue a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And like you've spoken about already, it's a funding issue. They've got to put up the 24 teams now in each location. So that's partly the reason they dropped it from 16 to 12. Also to align with the Olympics, but we could speak for hours about this. So I'm conscious about that. Let's have a little quick look ahead to the season. Obviously, we've got the 7 tournaments. We've got 12 men's teams, 12 women's teams, 6 series legs, and then the grand final, which will determine the playoff and relegation. We have 3 new teams, like I've spoken about: Kenya and Uruguay in the men, and also China in the women. So lads, first of all, Dubai first up, huge event. We've all been there, incredible place. Stormzy is headlining this year, which I think will do wonders. What are our thoughts firstly on who do you think is going to win Dubai, and who do you think is going to win the series, men and women? I'm just going to put that out there straight away.
Here we go.
That's huge.
I don't think we've been talking about turnover. I don't think South Africa have had that much turnover. And they've won Dubai the last 4 times. So I'm going to go with South Africa winning Dubai. 1, haven't had much turnover. A lot of other teams have. So they've kept that experience. And 2, they just seem to turn it on when they get into the desert and they just really enjoy it. So based on that, I think, they'll go for it.
And who's your thoughts to win the year, Hazza?
Oh, win the year, I think... Argentina again. No, Argentina again. Yeah.
I was going to say
we don't have much turnover. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say the same, but I'm actually going to say Fiji for Dubai. I've got a good feeling, but I think Argentina might win the series as a whole in the men.
Fair enough. And women?
I think. I don't know how much turnover Australia have had.
Yeah.
I feel like they've got a younger team coming through. The Kiwis have had 2 of the girls gone. I think New Zealand will win it. I think they have such depth. I know Portia and Tyler have left, but I just think as a whole, by the sounds of things, I don't know if anyone else has left. I'm just putting it on that they haven't. So based on that, if they have that full strength team besides those 2 girls, I'm going to go for New Zealand to do the double.
I think Australia for Dubai, but I agree. I think New Zealand might win the whole thing.
Nice. I'm going to put out Australia to win the men and the women for Dubai.
Ooh.
Yeah,
nice.
I just think Australia got some momentum from the Olympics again. Not sure what their turnover's like, but they tend to do all right. Although, like you've spoken about, South Africa have won 7 of the last 8 in the men.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the women, in terms of series, I can't look past New Zealand, but I'll be interested to see how Canada go, how they take the momentum. But I think with the World Cup 2025 for the women, that's going to maybe pull a few women players away, key stars. So it'll be very intriguing in general. Do you want to touch on Dubai, Luke? I've got a shoot, really. But I don't know if
I've got a shoot as well.
I
reckon we can leave it at that. We've done Dubai 2 seasons in a row. So, yeah.
Right.
Touch on Dubai. So. We're only touching on tournaments.
Yeah. Tournaments are actually boring if World Rugby are going to do what they're doing.
So for season 3, we're only touching on tournaments.
Yeah. We'll talk about everything but tournaments.
Yeah. Might as well.
There it is, lads. We've touched on the tournament. Refusal to go in depth into any tournaments this year. Less rugby chat, more other chat.
Off-field
Yeah,
chat.
we can go in depth after the tournament. See what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Hazza, you're going to be out there, so we look forward to seeing your stories and catching up on that. I'm going to be in Scotland for the next couple of weeks, but we will have a little review of Dubai and a preview of Cape Town. So
Lovely.
Thanks for listening in. Until next time, diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr.